I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'll call this meeting to order. Would you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Here.
Mrs. Butler. Here. Mrs. Donahue. Here. Mr. B.
Here.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Here.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
For the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz. Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Now can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings, the work session and on the 11th of June, as well as the regular meeting on the 18th of June?
Move.
I'll second.
Discussion? You take roll, please.
Mrs. Butler. Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
I will catch up.
Public participation for agenda items. If you don't believe we have anything, we just have all of us for at the end of the week.
Correct.
So. Nothing more I want in there. And then that takes us to the treasury report.
It's the end of the fiscal year, so I have a lot out here. I will try and get through them as quickly as I possibly can, but feel free to ask questions as we go here. Some of these will be easier than others to read. So our general fund report, so this is our operating budget 001 on your reports in 016, those two accounts, right? So we received $22,913,070 for fiscal year 24, which is, more than we have received last year. And so we had at the end of the year, increase from last year's $4,636,789 in revenue from that year to now. So that's a 25.37% increase in revenues. Then when you look at expenses, we spent $18,572,682, which gives us a surplus of $4,340 and $388. Gosh. So that adds to our beginning balance that we had last year. And now our carryover cash is $8,172,681. So we doubled our carryover cash, which is always a good thing. And as you know, we've got some more staff that we hired from last year and some raises that went into effect. So this will go towards all that and, good way to end the year. So as far as expenses, our expenses overall were only up 2.58%. Most of that is attributable to the fact that we didn't transfer as much this year as we did in previous years. And we didn't spend as much on equipment, right? Because we had the building project finishing up last year. Okay, so for June 24, just a bar chart that shows where we are as far as general fund is concerned, where our revenues came in. ODE was, or DEW, I still call them ODE, was our largest source of revenue for last year. Many districts around the state saw a reduction in income tax last year, as did we. So we were down 2.08% or $51,136. from what we collected last year. Real estate was up for the year over 316,000, and interest was up 348,000. So overall increase in revenue is 25.37%. So as far as expenses, salaries and benefits. But yeah, salaries is where we spend most of our money, rightfully so, and then benefits and purchase services are running close to one another, most of that being Montgomery County ESC and Miami County ESC for their additional services that they provide. So payroll and benefits were up just over $1 million. So salaries up 9.94, benefits up 5.69. And despite inflation being higher, our purchase services were only up 1.16 from last year. So there were some adjustments to contracts and negotiations. So we transferred 583,000 less this year than we did a year ago. So our transfers, you know, last year was 303,147. So we were doing less. This year is 303,147. I can't remember. I'm talking about fiscal year 24. We're in 25. I'm not yet. You used to being in 25 yet. So overall, we have 7,865,615 in cash, which is 123 days. So far, it doubles our 60-day cash requirement. So we're doing good. As far as our construction account, we've had 1,444,000 available. We will have a debt payment soon, but right now 1.4 is where we're sitting. Stop me anytime you have a question. So if we look at the fiscal year, total revenue up 25, expenses down 2.5, total surplus 4.3 million. Highlights it are we at the end got a boom in some interest, 357,000. Real estate and taxes increased by 316. ODE funding increased by 2.7. Salaries were only up 9.94. We had a larger transfer out of last year's fiscal year 23, causing this year to look like it's less than, but we were finishing up our building project and $700,000 was transferred there to get the building project done and all of that. So as a summary, year-to-date revenues, year-to-date expenses, where our current cash is, and where our interest revenues have jumped up considerably compared to the last few years. So yeah. Income tax, we're a little down, you know, as I said, you can see we collected 764 in quarter 1 of 23, and we got 766 in quarter 1 of fiscal year 24, but 536 versus 525, 532 versus 508, and 631 versus 611. So the other collections for the year were down. So food service, so revenues in fiscal year 24 were 707,000 and 23 was 685. Expenses were 580 and 759. So last year we spent more than we brought in, and that's because we bought a lot of new equipment for the new building. And this year, we actually had a little bit of carryover, so we came in the black. But our ending fund balance is $731,035. So we're still looking at ways to improve the kitchens and what we can do, because you can't carry over more than you spend. And so we're trying to figure out how we can, you know, make that compliant with the requirements. So permanent improvement, we had 641,000 in revenue, 703,000 in expenses, and these were our key purchases: flooring, furniture, portable team benches, AEDs, gravel, floor scrubbers, lockers, some fix for the drainage that was going on. So our ending balance in permanent improvements, $564,735. So athletics, revenues 274,397, expenses 364,950. So he spent more this year than he did last year, also brought in less revenue, so something to look at and see. But, we ended the year with 167,000, most of that being carryover from the previous year because we spent more than we earned.
Is revenue just from ticket sales?
Yeah, ticket sales and donations and things of that nature, yeah. Usually about what it's worth. Yeah, so this is just a summary of where our ESSER funds were spent. We have spent every dollar, so there's nothing left unless they give us more, and I'll always be happy to accept it. But we don't have any more ESSER funds. Real estate just shows that we had a 17.38% in the first half of increase in the first half of 24 and a 3.9% increase in the second half. That often happens if somebody comes in and pays their full year's taxes up front. Not me, but some people do. So first half of 23 and second half, it just shows where our increase was 307,000 or 9.4%. Then I went through and showed what our ending balances were in some of our other funds and things for you guys if you have any questions. But as you know, we started the severance fund last year. You allowed me to start the severance fund and we did our initial transfer of 300,000. So that shows that new fund, and then our capital projects having $1.4 million in it. So we have some student activities that are in the athletics code of 300 because you can use them in either. So it inflates athletics a little bit. But maybe I'll be one of my things I fixed for this year. But and we've got a little bit of state grant left over that we need to figure out what to do with, but we're looking pretty good. I was pretty pleased when I closed the year. So cash summary report, you guys know what that is, and you know, but it is where we ended up in the system with our current fund balances right here. So we're looking good across the board. All of our accounts are positive. There are no negatives. I think there's one, but I already put a request in, so we're just waiting on the money to arrive. So this 33.96. It's a federal grant. I have to request the money. They haven't given it to me yet. They ran into some problems with their processing, but because I requested the funds, the auditor allows me to leave that. So. Just our COPS investment, which is the leftovers of our investment for the building project. I did it wrong. Okay, I was doing so well, but we have a little bit over 2.1 million. But as we get those last bills in, we get everything cleaned up because we still have some Garmin Miller invoices that they're working on for lead and things of that nature. So once we get all that taken care of, that account will be closed out. And then, of course, we opened the general fund investments in May, was 6.5 million, and it's now sitting at 6.8. So we're doing pretty good. So pretty pleased with that. And then last but not least, then and nows. We ended the year with 136. Doesn't make me happy, but hopefully now that we're tracking them, people will be more aware, and we'll do better next year. So let's hope for that. That's all I have there. And then of course we have the detailed check register for the month of June. Did anybody have any questions or anything I can help with that? Sort of hard to run through this when you look at it, because it's a lot. It is. And a lot of it is payroll. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me or call me, and I'll try and answer those questions for you as quickly as I possibly can. Amended certification for revenues and our appropriations. 4 times. And this is our appropriations comparison. It just shows that we have enough money to cover all of our appropriations, right? So we haven't over budgeted. So I provide this to the board so you can see when my revenues, what my revenues are on my amended certificate are also on here, and what my appropriations are, my budget are also on here, and you can see that we're netting and across the board in a positive way, so that's a good thing, and this is how I keep track that we're not overspending in any particular fund. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call and let me know. The only thing, you know, that I want to work on for next year is we still had a lot of open purchase orders at the end of the year. So we're going to work on making sure we can get our appropriations, our outstanding encumbrances or purchase orders down a little bit. Shouldn't be so many at the end of the year, right? Mrs. Butler? Right.
So if it's an
Close
open,
those deals.
if it's an open purchase order, it just means that they were gonna spend that money, but they never did, and then that jacks you up because you.
Right, either, yeah, so either they anticipated a spend that they didn't make, right? Or they overestimated on something and forgot to close whatever was left, or, yeah. So, or we hadn't gotten an invoice before we closed the books in June. So we have to go back through my team and I and see, because we don't know if you've ordered something and that's still outstanding. So we hate to close them, because then what happens is we put a new PO on and you end up on our list because of then and now, is because now your invoice is dated before you purchase order. So it's one of those things, but as we get them more cut, you know, get everybody up to par on then and nows and having POs in the system before they make a purchase, the next step will be closing them when you're done making a purchase. So we're working on it. Yeah. Baby steps, but we are working on it. So transfers and advances for June 2024. We had some outstanding invoices that needed to be paid from federal grants, the 516 and the 572, which is your IDEA and your Title 1A. I made project cash requests and tried to estimate what I thought we would spend by the end of June, because ODE will shut down the request so they can do their year end. And I was off by this amount because we needed to pay those invoices. So I needed to transfer from the general fund to those two accounts, because you can't end the year in a negative unless you have a cash request. So, and that is all I have.
Thank you for all the information. It's outstanding.
You've been busy.
The whole team has been, yeah, been crazy, but we got through it.
Now you get to do it all over again.
We get to start all over.
You love that fresh, clean.
Yeah.
Yes, sheet though.
I think it stays clean for a day. You saw all the requisitions covered.
Yeah, as soon as you say, you can start putting them in for the next year.
Oh, they have them in draft mode, ready to go. Yeah, so
200 of them.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda item, or consent agenda for the treasurer's report?
Second.
Any discussion? You take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes?
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Beek,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Alright, superintendent's report?
All right, just a few updates first, before we get into it. The newsletter went out to print today, Dr. Jacob, so it'll be out in the mail soon. They did have their 11-month walkthrough, at the new elementary. So I've got a few items on the punch list.
Okay.
The transportation, working on the transportation, the extended school year schedules, you know, ESY extended school year starts 27th, starts this. So we're working on that along with the transportation schedule that need to be done in the system by August 1st for everybody else. So those are work in progress. We're trying to go itemized and closed out. Just catching up on the paperwork. Newsletters, the parking and traffic. I did meet with Miami County Sheriff and talked to transportation. Met with the SRO. I understand that traffic is somewhat of an issue here in the mornings and in the afternoons. So we're looking at traffic patterns, and we've got a call into OHP and a few other services that may be able to help us on. So we got an issue because we don't have multiple points of entry or exit, which is makes it difficult on state route. So was a part of that, and then we may look at parking as well as far as staff and student. It's my understanding that we mix staff and student parking. We're gonna try to separate those. So students are parked in one area and staff in the other. One, two. So you may hear from somebody saying, what are they doing with the traffic or what are they doing with the parking? It just, you know, it's sort of a safety issue as well. You want to do the search or do you dog in this parking lot, say you're going to come stamps. It's just true. So I didn't know that we didn't do that, but we're going to look at that. The website, took some things off the website, updating the website. You know, like I said, this is our third board meeting in 3 weeks, so once we slow that thing down, I'll get to some of the other items, but it's working on it. Yeah, we're working on that. Had a good meeting with BEA and see they're here today, so you know, I met with Mindy Casey and I met Lara the other day as well. So we had a good meeting. We'll do that monthly as well. Website, paperwork, and then annexation. So Natalie, Tina, myself had a meeting with the mayor of Beaver Heights and a couple of council members, and sort of give you the high level overview. All right, I think there's a couple more meetings that need to take place and some answers, but you know, the mayor has indicated that he has an interest in potentially taking CT1 and CT2 into Beaver Heights. There may be an interest in taking CT2 and not CT1, but they didn't seem super interested in that. I think that, you know, I'd like to hear a statement from the school district as well. So I'd like to thank the board member to Tina. So I made contact with Beaver Heights again. I go over to their office, asked for a meeting potentially Friday or next week. But I want to know where their level of interest is. And then if that is the case, then I think that the third meeting would be with the developer. So, you know, there's a lot of scenarios there. There's a lot of things to think about. You know, CT1, those kids are here.
Yeah.
CT2, you know, they would be in a neighborhood if they were not here, they'd go somewhere else. If they were here, they could go here. We've got a growth issue. You may be able to do what you can do and get some things the developer. There's those are conversations you think about, right? If those kids from CT1 were happen to leave, hypothetically speaking, you know, you'd be down to 500 kids and you would empty the building. You'd probably rip about 2/3 of your staff. I mean, those are, and you got an empty building.
Yeah, those are our kids.
But I mean, that people ask the question, right? I'm just saying, these are all hypothetical, but we need to get some further in. We did start with the mayor and council. You know, I think if we get an answer from the school district, I think there's, you know, the next step. You know, I'm not sure that, you know, I think, you know, a lot of people say different things. And I just want to get everybody in the same room. That's conversation. So, but that was our meeting. Like I said, you know, there is an interest. Supposedly they want to move fast, but I mean, that's with our time on Darkson as well. So, but you know, anytime you talk about transfer of territory, State Board of Education, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this and it's super fun. So, but you know, I mean, there's things we can do. We can take surveys too, see, you know, see what their feelings are. I mean, I would think that they would probably want to stay at Bethel.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why they moved there. But so. Question.
Thank you for having the dialogue.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And when I have the dialogue with Beaver Heights City School District, I'll share that as well. I'm invited. Okay. On to important dates. So we've got new staff orientation on the 8th. We've got, and we'll bring the new staff in. I'll meet them and have a Fidelity.
American Fidelity.
American Fidelity. Convocation teacher workday. So that's opening day on the 12th. You know, I will. Listen, 17th, over there. Do a few things, I talked to the marching band. I may play a few songs from Guardians of the Galaxy and the fight song, I think it'd be cool. YMCA executive director is gonna show up. The board president, usually invited, some board members want to show up, that's great, SRO will be there. Working through the agenda, but the union's gonna speak, so there's a lot of positive things to do breakfast and send everybody on their way, so we get started, get the room ready and meet their administrators, union meeting. August 12th, like MVCTC first day, the seniors are back on the 13th. Then we start our orientations, you got sixth grade. Orientation, and we got a work session. And then teacher in service, open house, first grade, first day back to school 2 to 12, and then the rest of them come on the 21st. So those are dates. Any question on dates? Busy. It's always busy that time of year, especially when the stagger starts. But it's always fun to get everybody back in the building. So it's lonely here in July. Everybody wants to talk to me in July, really doesn't want to talk to me. I'm used to it, but no, because I've had some good conversation. I have had some serious, all kidding aside, I've had some good conversation with parents and some community members, so that's good. Class Bs. So you're looking at, I want to talk about Class Bs and student parent handbooks. So Class Bs, Steve and I are going to need to work on. We are behind on that. It's not Tina's fault. These things are usually done in the spring. So we've got to cross that. We've had our Class Bs haven't changed in 3 years. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't, but we need to evaluate that. And I need some information from the principals. So now, we're probably going to need one more board meeting early August and basically just be Class Bs, handbooks. All right. The code of conduct is not a handbook, but we'll need to have those passed. We'll deal with put them on electronic, get them handed out, but I want those on. And I'll communicate with the community. I was talking about Jacob yesterday about certainly communicate, because as soon as you load that in, final form you're gonna have to go ahead and redo your final form, which I've done several years of final form. This doesn't make people all happy. So we'll let them know about that. The handbooks, like I said, the student parent handbooks, they need to be done, they are, I don't know what happened back in April, but the elementary ones went to print in April with everything in it. Middle school went no code of conduct in it, and the high school did go home. So I'm working on it. I wasn't hearing that. But on the handbook, there's some few things, I've talked to you all about it. I've starting to talk to the principals about it. They're coming back, middle school principal office. I've talked to Barrett several times. We've got, talked to Carrie and Tanya on the phone. We've got some things that we want to do on that. I want to address the vandalism piece, and I also want to clarify the bathroom usage issue. So those will all be handled in code of conduct and handbooks.
Cell phone and cell phones.
We'll get to that, but yeah.
QTDs.
So cell phone policies in our policy updates. Just so you all know, it's a frame of reference, the new cell phone, the bill that, everybody talks about passing law doesn't take effect in the next school year. This school year.
Right.
However, you do have, we have at Bethel, a current cell phone policy that says don't use your cell phones during the. Now, if it seems to be that everybody uses their cell phones, I don't know if that's true or not. But if the policy is you don't use your cell phones during the day, then you don't use your cell phones. So you can bring them in the morning, you can use them at lunch, you can use them after school, actually. I know it's a little bit of a pain in the beginning, but if you're consistent, and I'll deal with that with you. So, that's my issue. Yeah. So, but you do have a policy to your update. I just added it because there's a current cell phone policy. And that's basically what it said. You can use it in the morning before you get here. Turn it off, not on silent, not on vibrate, just turn it off. I know some parents like I can't get a hold of my kid, but we know where your kid is. It's emergency call school. If it's something wrong, the kid will call you. So, and then they can pick it up after school. So I mean, I get it, you
Yeah.
ride or you have to get it. So, but that is, next year, or following year would be different. We just, then we'll adjust those things in the spring for the fall. And will be done for everybody, because everything should be done from the administrative side. Those principals will leave at end of June, if everything's done. So, and it will wait this year, but that is the cell phone policy. So we just have to have that meeting, and say, listen, that's the policy. And if it hasn't been, then we just need to let parents know that we'll be enforcing. And if we're not gonna enforce it, then we should just give it a policy. I think you should enforce it. So,
Yeah.
as a parent, and my kids aren't schooling, but as a parent, I would expect that. With my own children. So. I mean, companies are making money off, social media, trying to protect kids, which that's how unfortunate this is becoming, right? So. They're good companies, because, they need it, but if you're not on your phone.
If I could jump back to class fees and sort of piggyback on something, Mr. Nutter said, we are working on it and we'll get it all out to everybody. We have some, balances of cash in class fees. So are these fees needed? Some will need to be adjusted down, some may go up, right? So we're working on that. But one of the things I've discussed with the board previously is we are taking credit cards in-house now. So you can go to your building secretaries and use your credit cards. August 1 through October 31st, we're waiving all fees.
Oh.
Right, so there won't be any fees to use your credit card from August 1 to October 31st for that first quarter. We're gonna see if that helps us collect on some of those fees that are still outstanding, as well as future fees. So, and because we're running a little bit behind, I may ask the board to extend that a little bit, but right now it'll be August 1st to October 31st. At the end of the year, we can then look back and see if we collected more fees than past years and if that's a good thing to continue. So, I'm excited to see what that's gonna bring us, because this is the first year we've had credit card payments in-house. And so we'll see if that helps us in, this endeavor to collect more of these fees as we move forward, so.
That will be electronic, they'll have to come into the office to give the secretary.
No, I'll have, I filled out all the paperwork with pay schools. And I can waive the fees online for class fees, but not food service, because food service is a federal program. And it'll get charged to that program, and they don't really like that, but I'm gonna look and see what we can do. So if it's not too excessive, we may just pay the fees out of general fund, because food service can't approve this, so.
Okay.
No, they're not allowed to, right, so, but we'll look at it. Thank you.
All right. Certified personnel, we talked about this, the credit recovery teacher, Winsell will be back on a 1-year limited contract with credit recovery, Apex, and replace that person. And that is.
I don't know where I was going, I was just clicking all over the place, sorry about that, apologies. So we need,
We need a motion then, right, to.
For what's been done.
Oh, wait, don't we need to go through all of them?
go through all of them, I don't know why that's there.
Yeah.
I possibly may want to pull it out, no? We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
So supplementals. We go to the supplementals. This is Kate from Damon. This is where we're at. We've got site meeting, we've got fall high school, we've got site managers for football, volleyball, cross country. Got a new position in cross country, which is kind of exciting. Kids are coming out June. So, but nothing unusual. Rescind the contract for Brandy Anderson. Brandy Anderson was has rescinded her contract. It's the second time, so she'll be gone. We filled the 6th grade. There's a 6th grade teacher. We did an internal. We moved over 6th grade teacher to do the reading specialist. We posted the 6th grade job today.
Oh, okay.
So. Resignation of Michael Purvis, intervention specialist. I talked to Brent Bugate this morning, at length on intervention, special ed. I don't know if we will fill that at this point or not. We had 3, we went to 2, we're at 2 now. But until I get caseloads and the type of resource for specialists that's being administered, I can't answer that question. He's getting that information to show.
And that's just for middle school, would you have to do the same thing for high school?
Pardon?
Or would you have to do the same thing for high school, or is this just because it's related just to middle
Middle
school
school.
intervention specialists?
Certified personnel, we got or classified.
Yeah, so we need to, because it's in the wrong place, we need to do approval of the consent agenda for certified. If that's okay
Sure.
to adjust the agenda that way, for those that approve the agenda. I
Okay.
didn't notice that, so if we could approve just the certified as far as the consent agenda items A through D. Is that okay for everyone?
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda for items A through D. Okay? Yeah.
I'll move.
I'll second. Any discussion? We take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. V?
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling?
Yes.
So 5-0, and I apologize for that. I did not know this. So that
Could be that confusing.
Can I ask you just a general question? Will Mr. Wetzel have a room? Have you found a room for him?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if he was gonna be going like into,
Go back to
Study hall?
credit recovery house. My understanding, they have a room for credit Apex.
okay,
I don't know. Now, we won't use his old room, we'll go to credit recovery.
I was just wondering.
It's, no, it's still have a room. Yeah. Those kids don't need distractions, right? They concentrate. Okay, classified personnel, Terry Hobbs, bus aide. And, advancement on the salary schedule for Alyssa Matthews Morgan, paperwork team from another district is verified it. And extended days, I'm asking the board to approve up to 5 extended days for the 24-25 school year at the per diem rate for our new transportation supervisor, Jacob Wine. So, and the reason that is, I mean, I've been doing transportation too. Not that that's an issue, but we've got scheduled bus routes and got clients issues. I've got a lot of stuff that needs to be done before August 1. And if he doesn't start before August 1, you know, I don't think he's going to need all 5 days. I think he's going to need 3. I already talked to him about that. He came up Sunday and met with Kathy. They had a really good meeting. Was here a couple hours, and I talked to Kathy this morning because I was doing some things for her, and she said she really liked him, and she actually looked forward to working with him. So they had a really great meeting.
Good.
And
So that, yeah, I know, you know, if anybody was, you know, wondering how that was going to work, she was super excited after she met him, spent a couple hours with him. It'd be really good.
Great.
So, we're out of there.
That's very good.
And then approval of the consent agenda.
so can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for classified personnel?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We take roll, please?
Okay, Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. V?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Just one question, Mr. Nutter.
Yes.
How many bus drivers go with them?
2.
2, settle.
That's it.
Okay, stellar.
It's better. We were 4 when I
I
got
was
here.
gonna say, we're higher than that.
We're good.
Does that mean we'll get rid of those 2 rounds to?
Working. Working.
You're gonna work the magic, right?
We're going to job fair and we're,
You're
working.
gonna get 'em. Okay,
yeah, we're not, the goal was to get, you can't double and triple route, right? I mean, it just doesn't work. And We're not gonna hire somebody to watch kids before and after school. We're gonna get kids to school on time and get them home. That's the answer.
Yeah.
So we're working on it. We were short a couple aides, we were short 4 drivers, we're down to just 2 drivers.
Perfect.
So
Thank you,
hoping
thank
that,
you.
that we, will be fully staffed and we won't need to worry about kids getting here early the same.
But you know, like the 2 that we got on board, does that eliminate 2 of the double routes or that's not how that works?
Not quite how that works.
Okay, gotcha.
It's complicated, well, it's not complicated. 2 wasn't there to get rid of the double routes, like 3 might get rid of one, the second one might be get rid of all of them,
Oh,
if that makes sense.
yeah.
You have to have those people to plan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you know, like I said, most districts use software, we talked about that
Right.
a month ago, right? I mean, it is not, and you're not gonna buy software tomorrow, have it in next week, right? It's about a 4-month process to get it going. But you'd be amazed at, you know, I mean, it's not like UPS or FedEx software, right? But I mean, this didn't matter. And there's a lot of special ed and compliance and those different routing, and you know, we're on, right, we're doing more route, we got vans out. I mean, you got a lot of moving parts, and you would transport kids to these other schools, you know, so it's a lot of going, but it will be, you know, it's transponder, Versatrans, they're all incredible software companies, but I'll let them take a look at that and make that out. Make a recommendation. So, oh, yeah, we can't get, we gotta do some things. If we can't keep having.
It's one doing something for the classified.
Have we already, yeah, that's my.
Number 8.
We're on number 8.
For number 8.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I thought-
It's probably not his topic, that would be yours.
Yes.
So.
So can I have a motion?
No.
Do I, that's right, right, that's your report. Have a motion to approve the amendment to the treasurer's contract.
Well, second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll please.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you very much.
Oh, I can do business. Okay, so business. Okay, business recommendations for the board. We have 2 donations for the football outing, and that was from Danielle McDuffie for 150 and the ambulance billing network for 150 that need your approval. Then we have a contract with the Montgomery County ESC for vision services. Last year it was 97,902, and based on usage and what we anticipate this year, it's gone down to 79,830.88. So that's good. It's still a lot of money, but that's better. It went down. Physical therapy, contract with Montgomery County ESC is now, 111,994.40 for this year. That definitely needs your approval. Last year it was 100,895.90. We didn't ask for additional services, but you know, cost of doing business and increases. So it did go up a little bit to 111,000. We will have more contracts from Montgomery County ESC. We will also have, you know, some contracts from the Miami County ESC. This is just the first one they sent out, and I just got it yesterday, so I apologize for the late, getting it put on late, but I wanted to get them approved as quickly as possible, so we save those seats for our kids going forward.
If there's questions on there, it's like I said, we talked about this, we reconcile those at the end of the year, but we did services, we. From them, it would use last year, the template, you move forward, and you adjust it, you reconcile.
You'll see quarterly invoices. They
Yeah.
typically will bill us quarterly for services, and at the end, they'll reconcile everything. If we owe them money, they'll give us a big bill, hopefully not. And if they owe us money, yeah, we'll get a check. We sort of broke even last year, at least I haven't heard yet. Chris hasn't said anything, so I'm hoping we're
Working away.
okay. Yeah, he's still working away on that. He's doing his year end, so.
So we talked in the past, maybe moving some of the ESC stuff in-house.
Mhm.
Would this be one of those jobs that we might do in-house or look at doing in-house?
Typically, vision services and PT are done are always done, at ESCs because they're just more cost effective than having those services in-house. Even though 111,000 is a lot of money, those are skilled people, and they're difficult to get, but,
We've talked about
we
it.
can look at it, you'd have to create salary schedules and different things, but yeah, it's possible.
I would say this, I've done it before.
Mhm.
Some services it didn't make sense to bring in-house, some did. Obviously there's a fee, so there's a markup, and you're still paying the salary through the contract. So I think what you need to do is you look at, if it's a service that we would do consistent, right, all the time, then it makes sense to bring it. If we had room and we had certified, we want to do that. That makes sense. They become your employee, save the district some money, and they're here. Sometimes people travel. I know they travel. I know we had a curriculum director for travel back and forth. Right? So, how effective is that? Would we better have somebody full time? Would we better have, in my opinion, the person who drive the curriculum? Those are things that you can do. But if it's something that you have a minimal amount of kids getting PT or OT, it really is not cost effective, and sometimes they're very skilled positions and they're hard to find. So that, but I always look at that every district. When I've been superintendent, I look at that and I would tell you, I would say, Dr. Tina said it makes sense to move this.
And there are a few on our Miami County ESC
List.
contract list that I think, we can talk. Mr. Nutter and I will talk about it and see if we can move those services over, because if they're spending 100% of their time with us, then they should be a district employee. The purpose of ESC is to sort of share the cost with different districts. So if you don't need somebody full time, you only need them 1/4% of the time. Then you can split that person between multiple districts. But here it seems like we're taking, as we've grown and the enrollment has grown, these people are spending more time with us because they have to. So do we want to, so we'll have those discussions. I know I've had them with Matt in the past and Justin, you're number 3. And we've taken people and
Sounds
moved
good.
them a little bit at a time. So, so I'm sure we'll continue that practice this year.
All right. So good question. Then so policy. Let's talk about board policies. All right. So these if we get through these tonight and there's no major updates, I will put them on the agenda when I do the handbooks and EPs, right? So that way, one of those things you do, we'll start to get board. If there's issues, we can wait. But I know you all started these a while ago, and want to get through them. I met with Neola last week and Mark, and we sat down for several hours and went through some things. What I included here, I don't know if anybody's done this before, and it's just so I don't know if the board is even on how I interpret policy. So boards approve policy, right? I enforce policy. Superintendent. I like policy to be policy, and they won't let you change policy too much or they won't back it up, right? They just won't support it. The policy comes from Ohio Revised Code. They make a policy. I enforce the policy, but I live in the administrative guidelines. I don't know if you know if I have administrative guidelines. I've got all these administrative guidelines in my head, and that's the way to interpret and apply the policy. And that's where it gets a little more detailed, things like that.
And you write those, right?
That's where I live. Yeah, those are the ones that if I'm going to apply the policy, if there's a question or if there's multiple policies or situations, I'll look at the guide.
But that's strictly in your
Those are
rules,
mine.
right? And we don't look at it, right?
No, you approve what these are,
And then
but
you
for
pass.
every policy, there's a guide.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
So everything that you see, for example, 26, 23, 22, there's gonna be a guide,
Oh, okay.
just a bigger one.
Mhm.
So, but it's but it's important because when things happen, you have to follow policy, right? So you should know your policy or at least be able to reference it. Not you, me. So, not you, me. But yeah, so that's sort of how I view it and how I work with it in the district. And what I've provided on this one is a summary. It's basically a summary of all the policies there's a lot of transportation in this one too, and we'll go over that. But, you know, I mean, I don't think I need to read this to you, and again, questions, let me know, but this is what that's there for. It's basically a summary of all of you for the policy. to go again.
So did he mention if, can we have like a standard template in the policy so they all look the same, they're all set up the same way, they're all formatted the same? They're all standardized.
I mentioned from a format standpoint, I know some of these things are before and after, and there's some reason for it, but we'll go through them and, you know, we're worried about the content, the purpose of it, and so much formatting, but we can talk about it. Right? But I mean, things you spot, right? I think you look around and you go, right? That's what But, so let's start with the first one. So we've got this student assessment, academic intervention services. If you go through that, the red is the old, the green is the new, right? And you know, there were some questions too, just about like state scores in June 30th. Remember that? So that is, those are state scores, those aren't report card scores. Those are for kids who took the state test, they have to be emailed. So they would have had to have they would have been on progress with the people. That's where they came. The state report card. Any questions on this one?
So I had asked Mr. Crispin, and I think I said to you as well, like.
The student, he, she, okay, up to you. I think he, she sounds like pronouns. But, I mean,
I mean, it just, I don't know, to me, that seems like a silly, you know, a silly.
So we talked about, Mark and I talked about, I mean, we can change it if that's what you all want to do. I think, you know, the student is the student. And then we talk about the student and all encompassing, right? He, she, I don't know, it just reminds me of one of the city schools, email signatures, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Next policy, is third grade reading guarantee. Well, I mean, some of the stuff has just changed, right? I mean, instead of, you know, grades 1 to 3 instead of kindergarten through 3, you know, the higher department of ed is now higher department of education.
So like, for example, the difference between policy and administrative guidelines, so that paragraph right above definition, it says satisfactory progress. So is that where you would come in with the administrative guideline and define what satisfactory means? Because, and then that would be outlined in your administrative guideline, right?
Yeah, my job is to make your job. You give me a policy.
Or like when it says at least annually, but if we wanted more than annually, then it would come out of the administrative guideline. It's even more.
Or I could say,
Gotcha. And then on the top of the next page, right above paragraph B, would that, or could that also include an interpretation explaining what the scores mean? So it's talking about that they're gonna send the diagnostic assessment and everything to the parents and whatnot, but again, would that be something that you could add to your?
we would explain that to them. We would never put that in policy.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, we would
Again, that-
explain that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why I wanted to go over these, right? I want you to ask questions, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how, you haven't been a board member for 10, 15 years.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right.
But, I mean, this is, like I said, we handle the assessment, we'll explain it, and that's our job. As administrators, teachers. You know, we don't do that, and that's my issue.
I guess that's just where I get, we're not that you're not on this, but I'm just saying that there's always different people back and forth all the time. And so when we start saying, well, at least annually or satisfactorily, or, you know, those
Yeah,
vague terms, and then we have nothing to go back and say, well, you're
And I
not.
okay, I'll say I can appreciate that because of the turnover here. Right, and I understand, And you don't know me that well yet. But I would hope and think you'll see by, January that what I say is what I meant. What it said to me got done. Moving in the spring, make you realize that, and hopefully, you won't have that. But there's a lot of things that aren't happening. For whatever reason. Turnover, change, and change is hard. And you got 40% turnover of staff, you've had 3 superintendents in 4 or 5 years. I mean, that's tough on a district, right? So let's stabilize everything and move forward. But I get what you're saying. I mean, I've heard it from community members, and I get it. I don't take it personal. I've heard it before. Okay. I get that.
And I am trying to translate, so like where I came from, it would be in our policy, it would all be outlined.
There's lots more things in armed forces that,
Yeah,
and
so I
then,
was trying to,
because when people don't follow those policies, really bad things can happen, right? So I mean, it's, and it's different, right? I mean, where you come from, your world you came from is different than the world these kids live.
yes.
It's just,
So I'm
they're
trying,
kids, right?
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. I'm familiar with military and police and I get all that, but the student doesn't really get it. That's, I get where you're from. I mean, if you're coming from one place and you're wondering about another place, it's a good question. That's why. Employment of substitutes.
well, go ahead,
Oh.
one more, sorry. So I have to think about the reading one, but so in paragraph Charlie 5, so C5 on page 2 of 5. And it says that the student will be retained, but shouldn't that say may be retained? Because if you go to the RIP in paragraph F, because of that waiver, the parent waiver came out, so we don't, it used, from my understanding, it used to be you had to fail the student if they did not pass the state reading test. But now that there is a parent waiver that even though they fail the reading test, that they do have the option to say, no, I still want my kid to go on to 4th grade.
And where are your,
So on page,
C5 here,
yeah, 2 of
then I
5.
missed where you jumped to.
Number 5.
Number
And
5,
it says that the student will be retained in the 3rd grade if the student does not attain a score in this, said. What you say that prescribed level on the 3rd grade reading English language assessment. But I think, shouldn't it say may be
well,
retained?
it says unless the student is exempt as designated below, and then the statement that connects the proficiency in the reading to the outcomes. So that gives you the reason to say that you don't need to do that.
Okay, so it's we will.
I
unless
thought in the
they-
last one though, they did change that from will to may.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like it fits may, it should be may, I would think, and then it says, delineated below, but below doesn't mean right below, it's not paragraph D, I think you have to go all the way back to, up to paragraph F under the RIM.
No, it's in my understanding that when it says and, it's referring to 6,
Yes.
that this is okay. I don't know what any of that means, but
They're saying the proficiency in the level of long term.
You gotta look at what C's saying, it's saying if they're not on track. And there are guidelines by the state, that's why they will be retained, and then there are some delineations, and that's why it's spoken to later, the language is correct. On an educational standpoint, it is correct.
Okay.
You paraphrase that much better than I did.
Yeah.
I was
Sorry
trying,
about that.
I appreciate the help.
Down a rabbit
You
hole.
said what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
We're young graders. Yeah, it's all kinds of acronyms. Go to the next one. Okay. Employment,
Contract, sorry, state or local definition? Or is it state or state?
It starts with the state level and then it goes
Okay.
to the policy of.
and local.
Okay.
they're very particular on how we report it. So if they say it has to stay on track, we have to report it as on track.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it won't do all that, I mean, it's, they just want you all to see it, right, but I don't expect you all to keep track of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So. 3120.04 employment of substitutes.
When they say employee for more than 60 days, does it matter if it's consecutive or cumulative?
Consecutive.
But it doesn't have to say it.
Termination and resignation. This is now, this 3140 is certified, 4140 is going to be classified. Termination rate, this is certified staff. One of the differences here is the notice, right, it's given by regular mail, should be mailing, electronic mail, proof of delivery, that didn't used to be a thing. Now it is. Or other method, because typically if something happened and you were going to do that, you had to serve the person, right, and they would never answer. You know, technically, like, to the game, they find it. So, but that is, you don't, they don't necessarily need to read it, but if you have proof it was delivered electronically, they can clear it out. Next one. Okay. Employment contract. This should say, you know, everybody employed. You get their per diem or hourly rate, I mean, this is nothing. They changed. For applicant. Yeah, you can really, you can.
Just took 10 years to catch it.
I was putting you in, I was teaching here.
I know.
Which didn't go well. Termination and resignation, policy 4140, like I said, this is class. Staff.
Okay.
You know, personal communication devices, I had to put this in because we talked about it, right? It wasn't on the actually before that, I had if you will. But, you know, the new law takes effect next school. All right, you have there's a communication device policy that you, a template with all the options. Okay? But my recommendation to the board is you put it on camp. I mean, it's not a bad policy. I mean, it basically says while students may possess in school or on school property during after activities, out of school related functions, they must be powered completely and stored out of sight during school hours. Now, Mandy, I think this isn't happening, right?
Not consistently.
Okay. So when we talk, we can talk about this, but we talked about the new policy. We will enforce it if it's policy.
Right, and we need to look at smart.
Yeah.
Well, so I would like some clear definition, I think, around just out of sight. I mean, does that mean they're allowed to just carry around in their pocket and their smartwatch will talk to them all day?
Handbook says that it should be in the lock, in the lock.
Yeah,
It
it
says,
says that, but they don't wanna lock their locker, so they carry their phone with them.
right,
And if they have their phone, then they got their smartwatch.
then they're still getting.
Yeah, I didn't say it's perfect, but you know, what hill do you want to die on, right?
Yeah, it should be on watch mode.
Which says that in the student.
And then
handbook as well.
when we do state testing, they're not allowed to wear anything because of that. And we check their wrists before and we check their desks, they're empty. Because that's a legal issue and I don't wanna lose my license.
Yeah.
So there are policies, yes, and some of the smartwatches are becoming an issue.
Just enforce what we got.
I don't think it's a bad policy, it just needs to be
No.
enforced.
We just
Right,
gotta
it needs to
enforce
be
it,
enforced
yeah.
consistently.
Consistently, there you go.
Well, and just by having this policy, we've already met the law requirements, right?
It already exists, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to change anything.
We didn't change anything, I just wanted to talk about it, because the new, because I mean, the law's passed, right, some people get confused with the school year next, it's next school year. but you already have a policy, which isn't a bad one. You just need
So
to
this
enforce
is
it.
just kind of like the blanket policy, and then the handbook is gonna better
It
define.
goes back to the guidelines,
Yeah.
right? This is a policy. You can't put every single thing in a
Right,
policy,
right,
right?
just
But
clarification.
the guidelines, the handbook, those are the things where we narrow in and. Cause policy for a 12th grader is different than policy for a first grader, not necessarily cell phones, but other things, right? So you
Yeah.
can't put everything in a policy.
Yeah.
This is the general rule, we'll handle the rest of the guidelines, but yes, I mean that. You're absolutely right, the guidelines will become, handbook is going to be passed, so the policy. Thing. Someone should pass it.
But our policy now doesn't say anything about teacher discretion, does it? Because that's where it comes into a problem too.
There is no teacher discretion, you can't have it.
But that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
But in this next part, it talks about, like, you have to pick an option. What option do we have? I mean, are we gonna pick the option?
Which one are you in?
I'm in 5136.
The current policy?
Yeah, with options. So it says which, so it talks about all the different options. With your personal communication devices.
Our policy right now as it stands, does it satisfy what the regulation?
Yeah, this one here is a new one.
Yeah.
That's if you wanted to go through. I had to throw that in it and show you what the template is.
I see. So the one we have
The
now.
one we have now is already.
Will satisfy this.
Somebody's still carrying a beeper or paper.
Oh, there.
No, see,
You'd be
this,
surprised.
this policy that you have now
Mhm.
covers. it.
Yeah.
That one there, which is all the different options, if you wanted to get into it. I'm just showing you that there seemed to be some confusion across the district, we had policy, so. So I just want to bring it up, so you do have a
We do.
policy.
I think so long since it's been
Yeah.
enforced, that people
Well,
don't know.
yeah, but that goes back to my frustration, if you're not gonna force it, put it in policy.
And
And
that
was-
was,
and that-
That's how I live my life, right? I mean, same thing I tell my kids and everybody else, right? I'm gonna do it. They don't touch.
Yeah.
Right. So, so like, for example, so on the third paragraph down, it says except as authorized by a teacher.
right,
And that's where my opinion is, that's where we run into
that is where
problems.
we run into
That-
problems.
Because then
Mhm.
they don't have anything for the kid to do, maybe in that class that day, or maybe they're doing something else or whatever, it's a free day, whatever the case may be. Everybody can have their cell phones, and then pretty soon now we've got a whole class on cell phones.
Then I-
now.
That's a administrative issue, not a policy issue.
We're one-on-one with our Chromebooks. We shouldn't have to take out a cell phone if it's downtime.
Yeah, they could be doing school
Am I
or
wrong?
something.
No, I understand it, but
That's
my
what-
point is if that's happening, that's my issue.
Yeah.
Not Policy's issue, not your issue,
Right.
that's my issue, because we can't follow it.
Yeah,
But if
it
they go
does
back to the
say-
so this is where I get wrapped around the axle. If we go back to the policy, it says, except like it's authorized by a teacher.
Right, that it
Yeah.
says the teacher can say, okay.
Right, so it's
We
given,
also tell the teacher it's not okay. We have a lot of discretion there too.
Yeah,
and I think we're all saying the same thing.
I think we are.
everyone's.
But I wanna
say
respect it. I understand what you're saying, right? But
I got a page for her.
But when you talk about policy, when the administrators have their meeting, they set the expectation for the staff, right? Just like staff sets the expectation for the kids, I think. This is the expectation, this is what we want, I'm telling administration, this is what we want. I shouldn't walk in any given day into a room or a building and see cell phones out. Then that's an issue, like I told my administrators. A few times since I've been here, I basically talked to 4 people. 4 people. If I have to go talk to other people, I'm not sure I can do. So. They have to administer the vote. And that's, and that is a flaw, right? That's it's a sequence of a chain, and you can relate to a chain of command,
Yes.
Command.
Yep.
and we can't have, it's not a free for all.
Right.
Just like the horror story I heard about. Before and after school out here, traffic, we'll have a few things set up for that as well.
Well, I think we'll take care of it.
So, but I mean, but I just, it's a good conversation, because,
It's a good reminder that we have it,
yeah,
Right.
that we have it,
Yeah.
we're gonna start using it.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, because I told the person, you got a young administrator staff. But, Eric's been here 6 years, but other than that, they're fairly young, as far as from experience level. You know, I've talked to them and I plan on being building it during the day, it goes office. And I get early out, answer email. Work, a lot of people, get some things done, but at meeting, but during the year, I plan on being building, help them. They seem to be
Good.
One step in the right direction.
We got it.
Health services, policy 5310.
So,
This is concussion. We talked about the, you know, health examinations and things like that, right? So, you know, district may provide a request guarantee by some of that we need, but if you look down here at the bottom, it's the concussion protocol, right? If a student, you know, this goes back to like football. I think it's a concussion sports, yeah, concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing. If you're in a phys ed class or something, you get the same concussion protocol.
so I guess I did have a concern when I said about invasive physical exams. When?
Yeah.
And when would we ever need the school
We
to do that?
we would do that if, for example, somebody broke their teeth. A compound fracture. We, you know, we aren't, the invasive, so I knew you were gonna bring that up. Yeah, it's not what you think it is. I don't think it's more of a, you know, I gotta go in your mouth and pull something out. That's invasive. You know, we say we're going to contact parents as soon as we can, you know, if we can, but if you have a compound fracture and your bone's sticking out, you're like, we got these.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but that's what, when you say invasive, and I think to your point, it's,
Cause it says.
It involves exposure of private body part.
Yeah, exposure of private body parts. So if I think private parts, that's the kid's privates. That's how I read that.
yeah, that's,
And that would be disturbing.
yeah, that's not the intent of it. But I get it, I need to bring it up. figured you'd bring it up.
And I think that that's because now we've got talk out there where schools are starting to get these mini clinics popping up all
Right.
over the place. And they're starting to do their little health checks and then one health check, you know, checking for scoliosis turns into checking for something else and then, you know, people have said stuff about yoga too. So I guess that is where I got hung up was exposure. I have no problem. I mean, fix their elbow, fix their knee. You don't have to call me. Just call me
Works for you
up.
regardless, but you
Well,
just gotta
yeah,
have
but I
time, right?
Not before you do it, just set it where you gotta do and then call me, but you don't need my permission for that, but that was the part that. Got me was exposure pipe. And they defined it, I mean, they're the ones that. Put the definition.
I mean,
Well, I think it, you know, I just, when I read that, it's like when I have a heart attack, they cut off my clothes, right? They, you know, they, you know, so if you have a female student that's having a heart attack on the floor and they need the AED, sometimes they gotta, you know, they gotta take that off. So that it sort of includes, you know, that kind of thing, yeah, so.
you think your interpretation of private body parts too, that's just. Private body, part.
Right,
You know, I gotta take your hands off because you broke your thigh or.
Right.
You know, I gotta give you a shot. The shot is invasive, right? I mean, you know, I need to give you pain meds.
Epigen.
Yeah,
That's invasive. Those are all,
Yeah, you have to.
it's a catch-all term, right? So I mean, you know, common sense comes into play too. We should think, we shouldn't do, and certain things are illegal.
Right.
Right, and that's not changed. So, but when you say, you know, exposure of private body parts, they're not referencing privately.
Right. Well, and I guess combined with physical exam. I guess if I put the two
Right.
together, it's not emergency situations, it's not, you know,
Yeah,
life or death situation, that's fine. This is a physical
It
exam
would be an
because,
invasive physical exam if you were, you know, in a really bad way or hurt terribly, you're going to have to do an invasive physical exam. It'd be done by an EMT. I mean, we're gonna call SWAT.
Yeah, we're
right, yeah, I'm totally with all that. It's-
Yeah, we're not, you know. But I just, you know, I look back, I know I had a kid that was on the playground, had a spiral fracture. It was horrible, right? I mean, there was invasive examination that happened at the. It was really a mess, right? So. You know, a lot of things happened that day and we had to do certain things we had to do before. You know, she gets to the hospital. And that's why that's there.
I mean, that does make sense.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it up. I don't want to, you know. You could bring a home night or somebody in the community, oh my God, that's not what that
They're
is.
performing exams on.
That's not what that is. That's what that means. Then if you know, but yeah, you go to the guidelines, we're not doing it. Yeah,
Thank you.
so.
That was my issue.
Right. And any other questions on this one? Yeah.
No, you answered
And I said, district too, not just building.
And the concussion protocol here matches up with the OSHA one, right? They're all the same.
Okay. 5330.05. Narcan. We don't have Narcan.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So I talked to the SRO. We can go through this policy. I think we should have Narcan in site on campus. You know, they tell me that it's anybody can administer, it's 2 shots up the nostril. 2 pumps, I mean, it's like after. You know, it's something, it's not a drug overdose, it won't hurt you. It is a drug overdose, and they say really.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I put, you know, puts each designated building. If you look at some of these things, we got rid of school. We put the district, not the school building. And the reason being is, in my opinion, you got a better chance of somebody overdosing on a Friday night at football game than you do in an elementary school, right? So you should have it at the district level, not the building. If I say building, I can't house it, not building.
Oh, that makes no sense, because I was thinking it would be in every building.
It will
because
be. If
it's
it's in the
something
district,
that-
it's every.
Oh, I see the
Very
difference.
good.
And that's why I do these certain things, and that's why I put that in. Because, you know, if I say building, then I can put it at the football
Gotcha.
or the baseball field.
Well, okay, because our baseball field's offsite.
Still part of
We
the
can
school
still,
campus, so.
do they have an AED to take? They do now,
They should,
they
yeah,
didn't used to,
used to
Not
last
have
year or,
a couple of years ago, did
okay,
not have.
I'll double check, but it's my understanding, we bought all new AEDs,
Okay.
a lot of AEDs next year, so yeah. we
Okay,
can- You will ask Damon,
yeah, because they should have a,
yeah, they should.
I'm gonna see it, I'm gonna see it Thursday.
Yeah, we did emergency kits and I don't know exactly what's in them, I just know we bought them.
I mean, gray and Thursday.
Okay, then you got that.
yeah,
So this means we have it on the football field.
This means you have to-
everywhere,
Gotcha.
that's great.
Thank you.
And then, you know, and I mean, and I was, you know, like I said, administration of this, you know, it can be anybody that the school nurses and train people. So I say,
Do we need that to say 2024, or does it not matter, because it says Neola 2023?
no, it'll get changed because down here it was modified at 14.
Right,
So this is first reading. You gotta go with, we'll update everything, clean it up, and then we'll have a second reading. To approve. Okay, transportation. $8,600. Nothing crazy. Language.
so can you explain just a little bit, just for me and maybe other people? Why are we getting rid of the word van and using the word vehicle? Because what other modes of transportation would we use?
Because sometimes we've got different passenger vans. Let me explain to you. We got buses. We've got vans. We don't always, like, for example, school, like, Jersey school transportation, like vans,
Mhm.
then we have bus vans.
Right,
And then so it just covers us to say vehicle. we're never gonna put it in a car, it's always gonna be a
Right,
sponsored school vehicle. But we've got different, you know, different size buses, we have vans, we have school van, you know, and they, yeah, you know, you need to be certified and drive all of it. You drive a bus, you drive any. Yeah. The other thing too, that, you know, you see a lot of this with, you know, travel times and kids with disabilities and things like that. I mean, there's certain things we need to meet. And the other thing that we don't do anymore here is drive the vans without certification. You're not certified, you can't drive. What, I don't need coaches driving the van with equipment in it. Even though there's no kids in it, because they're not covered. They're fleet insurance.
Yeah.
So, like Sunday when we left for the football, I think we had 7-on-7. You know, we took buses with the equipment, not vans. So we said, we'll take vans, who's driving, and then and taking a bus. So it took 3 buses, right? Everybody had a great time. Well, but point being is you can't, because they're not, you know, there's no kids in, I get it, right?
Right.
But-
Thank you.
But you're not certified.
Do we have bus training? Do we make that available for
We are offering it, we're gonna offer it more. We're more than happy to train
all the,
staff
any
members,
employee?
coaches and, you know, people that want to drive their van. But, you know, then, you know, they gotta go to Columbus for a day, and, you know, it's inconvenient, I'm sure.
They have to have a physical.
Yeah, but it's not that
Yeah.
easy, but you're coaching, good help, but I think, you know, we will offer it, you know, we've got OBI, like Jacob can OBI training. You know, we got a couple of on staff that can do onboarding. So, you know, my recommendation, I'll talk to Jacob, is to, you know, get as many people served, it's nicer. And it's great, but you just can't do it. It's good.
Yeah.
So. That was part of that. And you know, if you drive a bus and you're covered, CDL covered. But you can drive a van, not good.
Right.
So. Bus driver certification, 8600.04. Vehicle van, Department of Education workforce has caused a lot of changes.
Pains of the climate.
What a novel idea.
It is. My first time. Oh, they made it done. So we can use
Yeah.
That was always a bit.
that. No, we're gonna stop that. Yeah. So most of it is just do driving.
Most-
Let's do a vehicle.
Do and vehicle.
Mhm.
On routine instead of being another district sponsored trips, okay?
Non-routine.
On 8640.
I'm trying to keep up.
You're good.
I can read myself, okay, I'm sorry. We need more room to have all that paper.
Take a line on it.
With my kids.
You don't want a line.
All right, don't mess with crystals.
You're right. You're right, Rachel. Yeah. No better. 8650. This is vehicles other than buses. Again, you got it, you need to be trained. This is common sense stuff. You know, like I said, we keep track of this, right? I get wrap back sheets or something.
That's okay.
And you said we're gonna rescind this one, is that right?
What's that?
We're gonna rescind this one?
8660%.
Yeah, my my recommendation is you rescind this box.
Yeah, I
And
asked what
and
it is.
I can tell you why if you wanna know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Share.
you want my opinion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is saying is, high school student misses the bus to go to career tech center, right? Well, you have the principal give her a ride. Somebody to pick them up after practice and give them a ride. You know, even at elementary, I mean, God forbid you get in an accident. I mean, there's just nothing good that can come of that. I mean,
Liability.
Right.
well, I just, I mean, there's just, in this day and age,
You can't do that.
I just, so my recommendation, I told him, I said, I would rescind this. And that, those
Yeah.
are just a minimal examples of my reasons why.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it puts all of us, them, kids, not that anybody doing any wrong,
It's everybody's
but if I
say,
can just,
keeps everybody.
but I eliminate the potential threat.
Yeah, I had the same
or
note,
problem.
do we want to assume the risk and.
No, we don't.
Well,
I don't think you do.
We don't, we don't.
no, we don't.
So that would be my recommendation, and that was why. I mean,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason to help the kid, right?
Yeah, it's
Find a ride, get them home.
protection for the kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No good deed goes
and everybody's protected.
That's everybody, yeah. But that's why we've been doing, I'll take you over, that's not good.
Well,
So, I see you.
I agree.
yep,
Sure.
unfortunately, we don't.
Right, no good deed goes in.
And that is, all I got for policy. That's what was in that packet you started way back when.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Now, since this is first reading, we're only approving A, B, and C on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Because first reading, you guys get to go through it in more detail and get back to it.
If you're okay with it, then we'll put it on second reading to be approved.
Okay, so that was my next questions. We can approve it at the second reading. We don't have to have a second reading and then another meeting to
No.
approve.
You can approve it second, if you approve it at the second reading gun policy. I'll let Shelley know, they called me over, they update the policy and the guys.
And you would like to do that at a meeting?
I would like to do that at the handbook and fees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, I don't think it's, I mean, it's not a huge deal, right? I
No,
just,
but I'd like to like,
I would like to get it.
Well,
All done before school starts.
put it away.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, if you're all right, I'll get them together.
Yeah.
Put them in second reading. Okay. Thank you.
So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. But minus D, right, because it's the first reading.
Alpha through.
Echo.
Charlie.
Minus-
Charlie.
Charlie.
Alpha through Charlie.
A through C. I'm trying, I'm not good at it. Okay.
And echo is the actual motion.
Right, that would be the motion.
Yes.
I will move to put those things on.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We could vote, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Okay. Be a big.
Hey.
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 First of all, I know, I've been here 10 years and watching the growth and the growing pains we have come. We have doubled enrollment in 10 years. So with that being said, there's a lot of growing pains within a district that's used to being small, and we recognize that as a staff too. The need for the new positions for teachers and also for administration, because there's a lot more wheels that have to come and move when the larger you get. So we greatly appreciate on BEA the hiring of a high school and an elementary assistant principal, because that will help our principals out. That will make it where we can become more of a professional community and get some of the help we need. So that really is a need. And there are needs for other positions too. So we need to keep that in the back of our mind. Because one of the things that drew me here was the smallness, but yet I also have experience. We're 2/3 of where I came from. So I know where we need to go and seeing the needs, and some of them are needed, and they are growing pains, and it is a change of mind, and changing a mind and a mindset is very difficult. We know change hurts. But I appreciate you guys supporting the assistant principals. We appreciate the cell phone enforcement, and thank you for that, because it is a need. And also with the smart watches and the requirement to be on watch mode and that, because it does interfere with the learning. And I can tell you, parents do text and email our students, and they shouldn't be doing that. They're there to learn, and that's, and it does interfere, and we want our kids to be focused at all times so they can get the best they can from us and for themselves. Also, we recognize and want to thank Tina for taking half of her bonus and spreading the wealth
Yeah.
to her department. A lot of treasurers don't do that. And we noticed that as officers, and we'd like to commend that, because that did not have to be done. And we appreciate that, and we're looking forward to working and moving forward. We have a great district. We know there's a lot of change coming. But I can tell you, on the professional side, classified and certified, I know we're gonna support kids no matter where they come from and what their needs are, because that's our job. And also with maybe to ease your mind too, on the reports of like the state testing reports, they do have a breakdown, and they do tell parents where they are and where they need to improve in that. That's all included on those reports. Even the iReady reports we send, it already tells the parents where they're at, their grade level, and what their next steps are, and what they're doing right and they're good at. So that's already in there. So hopefully that eases your mind some. Because we're not gonna, as a professional, I can't sit and give a child something or a parent something and walk away. That is not what an educator does. And if they do, they shouldn't be you. That's our opinion as a BEA representative. We want our parents informed, we want our students to be the best, and we want to be the best for our kids. And just watch them grow, the smiles that come to our face when they do, it's amazing. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Very much.
Appreciate it.
Facilities Commission. Committee. Said
I'm like,
commission.
oh, you're a whole commission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commissioner.
No, sorry, I'm used to dealing with OSFC or CC.
Dallas
Your-
mover and shaker.
Facilities Commission, committee.
Well, I canceled the meetings for July because I wasn't 100% sure I could be here today. And I wanted to make sure it was done earlier than later, leave people scrambling at the end, but also, just because we're kind of regrouping, and I want to spend a little bit more time with, talking with Mr. Nutter to get your ideas, as well. And as you're getting the lay of the land, some new things might have been caught, or, you're seeing, and I want to make sure we get that included. And I just wanted the time to do that appropriately before we actually met and made that meeting worthwhile as we move forward.
That makes sense, and to your point, I've had several committees over the years, and there've been committees, not necessarily board committees, but administrative committees, like you meet with me and we go over, maybe meet with Todd, or maybe meet with, we go see Todd Bird, maybe we do see the field, but point being is not necessarily a board meeting, but you meet and we go over that, and then you report out at the board meetings about the facilities and grounds, right? I mean, we've done that for like finance and athletics and policy, and there's different, we could have done a policy per se And you could report out, but I just think it was a good time in school for all policies, if you will, to both docs for so long. But, moving forward, I think there's ways we can talk about that, but I've got a lot of insight on buildings and grounds, like built buildings, ran buildings and grounds in my lifetime at one point. So I think, I think it's good to, take a field trip every now and see what's going on in the district and see what's going on in the buildings, fields, things like that. So we've got a lot going on. You got we're gonna pave over here, talking about putting fencing down. Name of that road, Dave Road. I went down there the other day, correct?
Like, you're looking at me, I'm not looking at
Ag block, right? Cause and long story short, there was an issue and I had to go look at it and on ag block, and I was like down there, and then I went down there and then somebody said something, I was like, stop. Somebody said, I was like, anyway, long story short, I wanna make sure I pronounce it right. But we have fencing going down, so,
Nice.
that's going in, the bleachers, for example.
Are bleachers here?
Okay, so I called for him. David assured me they'd be here. So David, you're listening, I think you usually are.
Yeah.
Thanks for follow up on that. But I did call, cause I called him, like you said, when I got there, I'm like, I don't see visitors bleachers here. And, but I'd followed up with Farnham as well, just to, cause I knew Damon had been on vacation. So it was already gonna be here, right? So they assured me as well. So Damon, that they would be ready to go for the first football. So I mean, those are things, like I said, if we move forward. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but it may be better to go see everything than you can report out on. I don't, but it's something big. But yeah, I mean, we do that I've done that for a lot of different areas, right? What areas do you want? They're all unique to every district.
So if everybody was on board with that, the current facilities committee is a board committee, so would we have to like dismantle it or something, or?
We just use it, we just add the other administrative. If you're interested, I would walk you through all that. It's not a big deal.
I mean, I think one of the benefits of having it as a board committee was just for transparency for the community and community involvement. I'm not saying one way or another, I'm just saying like that's some of the history is that it kind of came out of that in the building because there was when this part of the building was built, there was a committee and then it went behind closed doors and the building got built. And so then when we built the other one, we decided that, oh, well, we're gonna be a little bit more open this time. So
I mean, if there's trust issues or things in the past, you want to keep doing it anyway, that's fine.
I'm just giving you the history.
No, I get it. I appreciate it. It's important.
And I don't disagree with that, but I think if we have the committee reporting back to the board, we still get our transparency because they're still coming back, report. Because really, we should be tasking the committee anyways, right? With whatever our vision is and what we want and what we want to do and input.
I think it's something to talk about. I mean, you want to do, and another point too, Rachel, I would say to you that those committees would have, like athletics committee would have like a donor, an athletic director and liaison from the board and, come and talk about those things and you might get more out of that than you would at a board meeting. But I don't care either way. I'm just saying it's this way it's been done. I've done it that way before, but like I said, if you want to be, I still think that's in my mind, it's still transparency, but if you want to be transparent at a board meeting, then it's fine.
So you can't have community on an administrative committee?
Yeah, you can. Good job.
That's what I'm saying. You would add
Yeah.
like somebody, like you had the people that come to the meeting,
Right.
just put them on that meeting and we can go look at the building.
And I think it offers a little more flexibility. Because then it doesn't have to be advertised, it doesn't have to be public meeting.
No, it's just part of your
Right.
board agenda.
Yeah.
You can talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not, believe me, it's not, it's important, but it's not, I'm not the first thing I'm gonna do in the morning.
Where's my committee? You have something else going on?
So just so I know, for purposes, we had the facilities committee scheduled for 6:30 before the August 20th board meeting. You want to keep that, make it earlier, wait, or you'll just let us know, right?
Yeah, if you can give me
Yeah, just let us know.
like a few days.
Yeah, yeah, I don't expect it right now. No, if you just let us know, we'll adjust it for the next board meeting or
Yes.
wherever, and get the notice out to everybody, however we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, however you want to do it, like I said, I'm here to help, you know, make things a little easier, better, but however you want to do it. I'm good,
Thank you.
huh?
I'll give it to you.
All right, OSBA legislative liaison,
Well, that's me.
that is you.
July, it's pretty quiet,
I
right?
was gonna say, everybody's on vacation.
No, we're still here.
The words are made for it.
Don't usually do much.
Yeah, so not much going on. However, in one of my updates, I did see that there is a school safety and security grant program that I didn't know. I just want to make sure you guys were.
Is that
aware of
the Bureau of Workers' Comp?
it. I do believe. Yes,
Yeah, I
it
have a
is.
meeting on the 30th to
Perfect.
discuss it and what we can use it for and start our application. It opened on July 1. The soonest we could I could get the guy scheduled is the 30th, but we're gonna talk about it, get it, and see what we can do, what are our best options, so. Yeah, super.
Awesome.
The only thing I sort of wanted to touch base on this is the Auditor of State's office has passed a new requirement that any employee, including board members, anyone that receives a paycheck from the district must take online training about fraud reporting and the hotline and all that. We have everybody read and sign the document, but now that's apparently not good enough. And so, yeah,
Public
so
school
we're
work.
looking at,
Can't wait.
right, Public School Works is looking at adding it to make sure it meets the AOS or Auditor of State's guidelines. I know that Bonefish, not the restaurant, but they we use them to verify our vendors. Cause every vendor that we use in the district cannot have a finding of recovery or anything like that against them, right? Cause it's public school dollars. So we always use that system to make sure our vendors are clear and in the good. And if they're over 10,000, 25,000, we run them all through that check. They also offer the same training, but it's free for them. But I don't know if we wanna add another layer, here, click on this link, or, so we're looking at that, so there's some additional training that everyone has to do.
So yeah, this level's.
I'll let everybody know, I mean, it's all employees, so anybody gets a check has to do it, but I like Public School Works because it tracks who has it done,
It reminds you.
And get a
and
certificate.
you get a certificate, but I get a report so the auditor can see, auditors can see it, but yeah. Yeah, so there are more new things coming down the path, but now we all get to take a test,
Another one.
training and a test, yes.
I love it.
Alright. MVCTC,
Thank you, by the way, for adding the two start dates and the important dates to know. The only other thing to note is that Monday prior, August 5th is 3:30 to 6:30 is scheduled pickup day and open house at the CTC. And that's all,
okay, thank you.
kind of close.
Student activities liaison.
Lots of camps and things going on. I don't have anything specific, but we've got drama camp, sports camp. All sorts of camps going on, getting all ready for next year. Fall sports starter gets first. So exciting. And then it gets real before you know it. We're back in school and we're back on the gridiron. Bees. We know I'm partial soccer. I will.
I like them both.
All of them.
My wife played college soccer, so.
Fall sports are the greatest. So many kids involved, so many kids. And it's
Yeah, I see it. There's a lot of them.
it's just so
Great.
awesome to have them everywhere with
Marching
volleyball and it's just great.
I've often said that's the biggest, best classroom out there. Band, football, soccer,
Yeah.
learn a lot,
Yeah.
so.
So
Oh.
excited.
Just sort of an update, central office, our old building is getting the floors done.
That's right.
Yeah. So we are being kicked out. For a week. Yeah, for next week. We'll be available and we'll be checking voicemails and we'll be checking emails, but unfortunately, we're not allowed to walk on the floor and there's no other way to get to our offices. So, if anybody needs us, you have myself, but we'll be responding to emails as well. So,
Yeah, I'll
and
probably-
voicemail.
I'll probably still be here, I'll be in the building.
You think, do they have a room for us somewhere else? I would prefer that.
I'm gonna find.
Okay.
They're gonna come and hear somebody else.
I'd be like working in somebody else's office, and be like, what happened?
Yeah,
Tina was here.
yeah.
But I don't care, yeah, so,
Y'all got my cell phone too, and I've got my computer. with me
Yeah.
all the time.
so just for the
We know
general
where to find
public,
you.
if you
But
can't
yeah,
reach
if you
it.
go up to the building, you won't be able to get everything.
Right, yeah,
They did do before.
cause you'll be ringing the bell, there won't be anybody. They're kicking us out.
Did they redo the gyms this year?
Not to my
The
knowledge.
gym floor?
I've been in the gym, I didn't know, it didn't look.
Yeah, I almost forgot to, oh, it's next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause she said July 25th was next week, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, we're kids out. So we're either gonna have to find a different place to go, or, but the old building will sort of be closed, right? So there won't be anybody in.
Yeah, I got plenty to go.
We'll find another place to go.
Panera.
I need to talk to these guys, and you know, I need to talk to these,
Yeah.
they'll be back, so.
Alright, so we have,
Public participation next, so, Ms. Donnelly?
I'm gonna pass. I got something else I'm gonna check in.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Leary's.
good morning.
We're getting shorter. We're not getting
Yeah.
shorter. We are not morning yet.
So I just had a couple of things, based on tonight was, when you send out the student fees, please send what they were previously. Because that helps a lot. to see
Yeah.
what the difference is. And for the facilities committee, I'm asking you to please keep it a board committee. I know Jackie said it makes it more flexible. But because it doesn't have to be advertised and the minutes and everything, but the point of making it a board committee was to have it open to the public. To seek community input and ideas and produce those minutes that the public can review. So, you know, as Rachel said, it's because of the history, but we sure don't want to go back to that. Where, everybody can come this way, not just one or two people that are appointed to it. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, that wouldn't need to be. I've provided the board with a update to board docs if we're gonna do board committees, or do we wanna continue to hold and wait and discuss that, or do you want me to go ahead and it's going from like 2,700 a year to 58, if you wanna do that, if we're gonna have multiple board committees, it would be easier to have them all in this kind of format.
Right.
And available
How
to
many do we
everybody,
get now on our current?
just one. You
One
just get
extra?
your board agenda, that's it, you don't get any extras.
Can we edit it anytime?
Yeah, you can add it at any time, so if you wanna think about it, but if, so I'm just revisiting that, if we keep board committees, it would be so much easier. If you're gonna do more than one board committee.
Does it have to be a board committee? Could it be like the one board committee, but then we also have administrative committee?
Yeah, you can put any kind of committee up there, yeah, I think I can do 7 or 8, I'll double check.
I'm just
Which-
thinking,
It's nice because everybody had access.
Right,
yeah,
we can limit access to certain things and give access to others, so. Yeah, it makes it easier, minutes will be available, and we can put a link in, just like we do with the board agenda. We can do that for people that wanna review the minutes and the committee stuff.
I like all that. I just don't know if we should pay for it now, if we only have one committee. Right, because if we have one committee, we can do it on the current board docs.
No, you can only do your board agenda here, we can't do any.
Yeah, you can't.
We do zero
Zeros.
committees, we do a separate agenda that's been created over the years, works well, but it's separate,
Right,
yeah.
okay, I got you.
So if you wanna do board committees or even administrative committees, I would suggest. Upgrading just a little bit, I wouldn't go for the full pro plus, that's way
Right, yeah.
expensive and more than we need, I think, but bumping it up a little bit. To have everything in one place and easy to find would be great.
I was just thinking, if we don't have any commit, or we have that one committee right now, do we wanna do it now or wait until we get more established?
I think we wait till we figure out what our.
Yeah, you don't have to decide right now, just keeping it, yeah, keeping it in your.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for the reminder.
Well, thank you. You just keep it on our radar.
Oh,
What's that?
We didn't have to use it because Julie was fast.
Julie, go ahead.
hurry, Julie, come on.
So bad, question though, because I just asked before.
Right.
So I know we can't have like you have the same authorization and everything.
Right.
I don't think the facilities committee would necessarily need any extra authorization, but couldn't we just put the agenda in there and the minutes as just as another meeting and not grant any additional authority?
You mean in board docs?
Yeah,
The problem is that it applies the same security.
right, but I'm saying.
But it
maybe that would
doesn't
be
give-
okay.
Yeah, it will,
Well, but you couldn't give that security to outside
Right.
members.
So I'm saying, I don't think just for tracking it would all be in one place then without paying the extra money. I don't even need access to it.
I'm just
There's-
wondering if
There's
it,
nothing that's ever executive
right,
session kind of thing, so.
right, I'll look into it. I don't know,
Just a
but
thought.
yeah, I'll look. and
Brennan
see.
didn't like the idea, but.
I think the problem that Brennan may have had, but I'm speculating, I hate to do that, is that it will show up along with all your board meetings. It'll all be in that active and featured and all of that. It'll be
Right.
mixed.
But that's not bad though.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing and the option of the security part of it. Can we keep people out or, but if we,
I don't think you'd need to grant anybody on the facilities
No,
anything
something-
special, so we don't
something
have
like
any
that.
special resumes or anything like that. It
Yeah.
requires special access. Just an idea. Would save the money, but still put everything in one place.
I was thinking if we, because there was talk at one point in time that we were gonna have a bunch of board committees.
And it's possible.
And if it's possible, it would be easier for all of us, I think administratively to keep track of it here, so, but if not, I'm fine with that either way, just making sure.
Same.
As long as we can
Keep it on
add
the
it,
radar.
add it later.
Mhm.
when
Yeah,
the
we
need-
can.
When the need arises.
Yeah, he called to check and I said I'd bring it up.
And you did the due diligence.
And
Yeah,
he was
I mentioned
reminding
it.
us.
I'll remind you if we get too far out of the goal, get a new quote, move forward.
So now, can I get a motion to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student, unless the employee, official, licensee, or student requests public hearing.
Yeah.
So is that a motion, Ms.
I
Bella?
What she said. Yeah. Make a motion that we dismiss to an executive session for
Number one.
number one.
Second.
Ms. Kiplinger, okay.
Right, I think
We're not gonna have any voting afterwards,
No,
so.
Well, no, we don't plan
We
to
don't
have
plan,
any.
we're not planning.
We're
on
not
any-
planning for any more business.
Right.
But the last time I said that, then we limited ourselves.
Right.
Because it came up that we could have and then we didn't. So
Right.
I don't like to say that,
We're
but
not,
we're not planning
planning
any more
on any
business after.
business.
this.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
yes.
officially 8:52.
Oh.
See?
Oh, look at that.